Hi folks, this is Madhu from MFA Advisory. Today in the first part of the 10-part series on startup failures and what we can learn from them, right? So we want to learn from these past failures so we don't repeat it. Today we're going to look at a startup called TinyO. TinyO was started, I believe, in 2014. It was started by, I believe his name is Harshvardhan Mandal, right? So he and some of his classmates and friends, almost 12 of them, together started this startup. TinyO was actually, in my opinion, when I look back, they were probably ahead of time, right? So they were in the food business. So Harshvardhan was a great salesman. He was young, energetic, had the vision, was able to sell his idea. His idea was this. So we have this mental kind of a dilemma, what to eat often, right? So the neural programming we want is to make that easier for us, the choice, what to eat. So he had this idea, let's connect these restaurants, the chefs, with the consumers, right? So now when we think about Zomato or Swiggy, the best thing about them is not only convenience, but also it takes away the decision-making process. So if I am hungry, I don't have to think about cooking, or I don't have to think which restaurant to go to. Just in a click of this app, I get all the choices in front of me, and it makes it a lot easier and convenient to choose, right? If I want pizza, I can search and pick the best rated. This was somewhat similar to what Harshvardhan had in his mind. So he started this TinyO. He connected not only the restaurant, even the chefs, their profiles. So when you as a customer want to order, you know what the chef is like, what his or her preferences are. And not only that, not only the restaurants, he went one step further. So he connected housewives, people who are at home, who have that extra few hours, who can prepare homemade meals and deliver it. So very, very innovative. And this led to a lot of funding. They raised almost $27 million, funded by Sequoia, Matrix, a lot of money, right? So in just a span of a year and a half, they raised almost 250 to 300 crores. So where did it go wrong, right? One of the key things that these guys did was to expand rapidly. So they started in Mumbai, but then they expanded to 11 cities in a span of a year. And they went into all of these categories. So to do all of this, so they got all of this money. How do they spend? How do they show return on the money they got? They went on a hiring spree. So in just 1 year, they hired almost 650 people. So they went to 1,200 in a span of 15 months post inception. What is one of the key things as a founder you need to ensure is that you don't burn cash way too much than what is required. So this hiring spree meant that they were burning almost 10 crores a month. So even for a company that had raised so much money, that's a very high burn rate. And for what? They were getting traction, but not at the scale where you can burn 10 crores and still be okay. So the first lesson is don't overhire. Hire for your current needs. And as you scale up, you continue to hire. You don't have to hire for expected traction. Second thing, these guys were also discounting a lot of the food items they were delivering. See, if that is good PMS, there's good product market fit. Traction comes in naturally. If you're giving convenience, if you are making life easier for consumers, for restaurateurs, for home chefs, then traction will come naturally. You don't have to push it by giving discounts or at the scale at which TinyO was giving. So once you have traction, then you can scale rather than artificially giving discounts because you have VC money. A lot of founders who have received VC money early on don't realize that cash prudence and becoming cash flow positive is key to success in the long run. So two mistakes here. One, ensure you hire as and when required. Second thing, don't try to do too many things or be good at too many things. So TinyO was trying to expand in many cities, many geographies, trying to make money for the customers, trying to make money for the restaurateurs. So all of this costs money. And who was losing money? TinyO. The third thing in terms of an issue was that when they grew, when they scaled so much, they were not able to create proper structures, hierarchies in the organization. So employees were disgruntled, and one day when the money was running out, they had to fire 600 employees overnight. Created a lot of chaos. So hire properly, create structures, very important. The fourth lesson is when you are hiring, see if you can use advisory services, consultants where you can, rather than hire full-time people who are expensive. This happened late in 2015 where they hired a CTO and paid 1.5 crores as salary and 50 lakhs as sign-on bonus. Think about that. That's a lot of money even for a MNC tech company, let alone a startup. So these kind of expenses could be avoided by hiring a software consulting firm or a financial advisory firm. So for example, what I see is a lot of companies don't need CFO services when they are in the early stage startups. That's why MFA comes in, right? So companies like us, CFO advisory firms, can be the option where it is flexible for you to scale rather than having someone full-time. And the last nail in the coffin of Tiny Owl was when Harshvardhan, who was responsible for funding, basically let everyone in the world know that he is desperate. He sent out a crying call for help. If you are a founder, grow in a stealth, silent mode, stay lean, try to become cash flow positive, and let your performance speak. Let the investors come to you. FOMO, fear of missing out, should be there. Don't show desperation. So when he let that out, the message that his startup needs funding, the funding thing dried out, right? Eventually he had to go to a rival and try to sell his company. What a disaster, right? To sum up, hire prudently, create organizational structures as you scale up. Third thing, don't try to do a lot of things at the same time. Prioritize, right? Fourth thing, where necessary, you can use the services of advisory firms, consultants, rather than hiring full-time employees when you are very, very early stage. And finally, grow your company and let the funding come to you rather than publicizing that you need funds. Hope that was helpful. I'll see you in the second video very shortly.